Hey guys, it's Mario, and here's another game for you. We're gonna speed open the opening a little faster this time. It's just gonna be on ×2 at the start. But this is kind of showcasing the Terran against Protoss I've been working on the last, I want to say, 2 or 3 weeks now. I've been keeping it kind of private. Um, there are just people who like to steal my builds and claim it as their own, and you know, it's good when you keep these things private until you're ready to really talk about them. So, yeah. I like to share my stuff, but sometimes it can just be a problem. I'm not naming names though. But, so, with this Terran against Protoss, I've been trying various different things. I tried a specific opening, so I had a general idea. And by the way, we're going 10 supply depot, 12 barracks, 14 command centers, scout on 13 supply. It's very preset. 1 marine, then a reactor. You do not have to wall off as long as you scout the close by positions where they can proxy. So, with this specific build, I had the first general idea a few weeks ago of a fast mobile mech army, and then put in the powerhouse units a little bit later and see what I could get away with. I spent a while on the Korea server trying to get the right build order, and then I wanted to play on the North America server a little bit. They're a little bit more macro prone on the American server, not so much on the Korea. So what I really wanted to do on the on the macro server North America is try command center first, and I did that for about a week. I actually ended up losing 70% of the games where I went command center first. But so I did a test. Like I played on Korea, and I played Command Center, or I played on Korea, and I did the build with my kind of safe-ish opener, and it had about an 80%, 90% win-loss ratio, and then I did the Command Center first for North America, so I could see the statistics differently, and had about a 30% win-loss ratio. So if you ever inspect me and you see, oh, he's got a 30% loss win ratio on North America, that's why. I don't really play on North America anymore. I just kind of test some things there. I have like a 50% TVT and an 80% TVZ, which I feel is my TVZ is probably near perfection. I think, at least for the America server. I don't think my TVZ could improve anymore on America, which is why I'm playing on Korea. Which is also the same thing for my TvP, which has been floating the last few seasons around 60%, and then near the end of last season, I think it was about 65, and then this season so far, it's been about 80 with this strategy. So I'm definitely improving, and eventually I'll get to my Terran. I play very few Terrans, and I don't practice against Terran very much, so it's definitely my weakest matchup. I don't have... I don't really... Like, if I were to say the least knowledgeable matchup that I have is actually TBT. It used to be my favorite in Wings of Liberty, but right now I definitely isn't. And I don't really watch... Even though there's a lot more videos about TBT, I don't really watch videos of players like Flash Meching or anything like that. So most of what I come up with is, well, unique, I guess. I don't know if it actually is unique, but I definitely don't really see their videos very much. Maybe like one video every 2 weeks. Just to kind of see what they're doing, poke my head in, get some new ideas. But I like to go off on my own. We do engineering bay block. It doesn't matter if you do or don't. If they have a zealot, maybe you shouldn't. But the engineering block also helps you buy some time, so your reactor can get up, and then your factory. And you're not getting your command center until after you have the factory going. The engineering block is something you're more likely only going to do on Akalon Wastes, as I don't have any other two-player maps unvetoed. Akalon Wastes is pretty much the only two-player map that I allow, because it's a pretty okay mech map. The other maps are very open space, and there's lots of expos, and it's 4-corner position, which I like a lot. So I've been placing the command center on the high ground. If you have a lot of high ground space, that's something I recommend. On some of the newer maps, you don't have that possibility. The only newer map I really don't use is Frost. It's probably one of the worst maps for mech, so I definitely don't play on there. and then we go to starport right away, which is something that I'm still undecided on, but I've been liking it because I still get a widow mine in case of Oracle. Yeah. So if I feel it's kind of safe, I take my expo, you know. I know that he hasn't poked his head yet, and he spent a lot of time killing the engineering bay, which doesn't leave very many windows of opportunity. So there's probably a nexus going on, and I'm sending my SCV that was over there earlier building the engineering bay with 10 health back in to see if there really is a nexus. And, you know, get in the bunker. Getting my second gas. It's important to get your second gas around the same time as your starport. And with your starport, you want to get a medevac first. And while you get the medevac, you want to plant the widow mine somewhere where you think an oracle would fly in or something. So at the most with this build, what you want to do is get up to 3 gas at the high, at the very most, until you get a third command center. Your factory will also be making a second tech lab. The main tech lab is for the starport. You also want a second bunker. You'll have plenty of marines, but you are delaying siege tanks a little bit, so it's good to have a bunker. The widow mine is just going to be for pressure. Once we've established, which is around the timing the medevac comes out. And yes, we've planned nearly all of this for every transition that I'm aware of. There's like maybe 1 or 2 weak holes. But the widow mine is for pressure. We only invest in 1 widow mine. We're going to fly around. The medevac is also for scouting. You know, we get in the bunker. We get 1 more gas. We get a third command center in just a second. It's going to come up right about the same time that I'm close to his base. And I get the Raven right away because Dark Templar timing is really about 8 minutes, which gives the Raven only a few seconds, you know, to where it's not there, and then you can start Cloak. So, yeah. There's the third command center. I'm about at space. Poke in, speed boost in, drop the widow mine, move out of the way, burrow away, come back up, go back, pick the widow mine up, and get out of there. You don't have to drop if there are units there, whatever, just back off. I decide, you know, there's going to be some cannons there, there's not going to be too many opportunities, so let's just drop the widow mine off safe at a third base so I know when he's taking his expansion. Once we feel like he's playing defensive and he's not coming for an attack, you can drop a 4th command center. You are double kind of expanding in your base. You know, once you got the Banshees and the Siege Tank and the Marines going and you've got a wall off with 2 bunkers, there's not too many ways to really break you. So you can actually afford to get an extra command center. It's kind of greedy. It's very greedy. It's exceptionally greedy. If you're having lots of macro problems and you can't keep your macro proper, then, you know, you probably shouldn't do that. Yeah. So, we do want to get Cloak, regardless of whether you think the Banshee will do any damage. We're only getting 1 Banshee for now. We're going up to 3 factories. 1 with a reactor. We don't really need the second reactor right away, but we can get it for this factory a little bit later on. So we've been using the medevac to actually fly around in his space. I don't know if you saw that. Kind of take a peek, speed boost in and out. What are you getting? And I actually end up seeing that he's going Stargate with that. So what I do with this build is I just simply transition instead of Hellions. I go drop an armory and I go widow mines. There's an observer right here. I'm not sure if I noticed that. We still continue the Banshee production for now, that's not a problem. Yeah, let's go back to our vision. Anyway, we dropped 2 starports. This is normal, we would have done that anyway if there wasn't any Stargate. You see, because, oh, one of the starports actually bugged out. But, the reason why we dropped 2 extra ones, so we want to go up to 3, is because we want to be able to produce more Banshees. The 4th command center we're going to use to grab a really fast 4th. You don't have to do that, but it's what I've been preferring, and make it in a planetary fortress, and then just take your 3rd as normal. The fourth is really risky, but it's a lot harder to defend, but it's a lot harder to attack because you're blocking yourself in, and it's going to be a planetary fortress. You can spend most of your army defending your third. So in this scenario, we know he doesn't have a fourth. It's one way that we can get ahead. We know that like we're getting our third up right now, but it's going to be kind of our fourth. It's the farther out one. So we're just getting the gases on there, and we're about to send the other the other command center over in just a second. Once that we have the rocks down, we just kind of check that. We're getting building armor because we noticed that he's going Void Ray Immortal. We know that he'll be susceptible to heavy Widow Mine play, and one way to also make sure that the Widow Mines are even more effective is to use a lot of missile turrets in an aggressive stance. Building armor is also exceptional for defending those 4th base planetary fortresses, so that's why we're getting that. This Banshee's been sitting there for a bit, but we're not too concerned. We're just gonna kind of poke at him. We know that's not a real Phoenix. We're just gonna try to do some damage with the Banshee. You can see it's attacking, and we just correct it a little bit. Have it attack some workers, establish our other base. He does end up attacking it, and I try to move it, and I see, Void Ray Immortal, and I do end up saving the Banshee, so that's nice. In the moment here, we remember that we forgot the 3rd starport, and we're going to go for 2 more factories. You want to go kind of like 3 starport, 5, 6, 7 factories off of 3 bases. Once you get to 4 bases and your economy is booming, you can drop 3 more starports. Or a few more factories, depending on what is going. But I like the starports. From here on out, I decide I have a very robust army. I'm producing a lot. My economy is kind of booming. I know that he hasn't moved out yet. He hasn't been aggressive. So I'm going to go ahead and push out in just a second with some SUVs. Make sure that I've got everything pressing that requires a lot of attention right now to do really fast. Sacrifice one bunker, get double orbital to help with scans, and to get my economy, even higher going. And I get the missile turret tracking. So I see that he's about to take his 4th, which is kind of the cue for like, okay, this is definitely a macro game. Let's kind of go poke out. And if you see Tempest, this isn't the best thing to do, is to push out with the siege, with the missile turrets and stuff, because they can outrange it. It does take them a while to kill it, but eventually they'll just be able to push you back. So if you see the Tempest, kind of play more towards the Ghost Raven Viking thing. And to be honest, if he doesn't have Templar, because if he was going for Tempest, it's a really heavy expense. They most likely wouldn't have Templar tech if they did that. Then you can just use your 3 starports to produce Vikings and Thors and Hellbats, and then just run them over. I don't think you'd even need the Ravens. So from here, we kind of get into a position before we engage his army. This makes it troublesome for him. Like we want to set up a perimeter and then slow pushes. So he drops some missile turrets and a sensor tower so we can see what's going on. And we have our bases rallied over. And we send our Banshees over to harass a different location, kind of draw them out of position, so we can advance. That's the goal. We'll see if it actually does it. And you can see that I've seen a lot of air, so I'm still making Banshees for the Immortals, but I'm also making Vikings and I have Widow Mines and turrets to help out. And there I am, poking in, doing some damage. Kind of just seeing what I can do. And then I go out, and then I go back in with the Banshee because I know he's right there. I want to get his attention, so I'm watching him. You can see I'm kind of like moving myself back, preparing for the engagement. But I'm just watching him go down. I'm like, okay, he's going down. This is our. Let's force him to keep going down. Scan, make sure what's behind, so we can move out. And then we just move the Widow Mines forward, and then we set up our contain a little bit more forward. Set up the missile turrets, siege the siege tanks. And we're still rallying over. And we kind of want our middle mines spread out so the storm doesn't really kill them all. And it's okay that he does this because we want him to use the storm in advance. We're reinforcing anyway. There's not much space for him to retreat here, so we're going to go ahead and Hunter-Seeker his army. And we do end up getting quite a bit doing that. Now we're getting to the stage where our upgrades are getting kind of good. We have a lot of economy. We're going to drop a few factories so we can mass produce. And here comes the fight. Now, this is going quite well. in our favor. We were able to kind of contain him, get our infrastructure up. Ultimately, not everything we would have wanted. And I do lift up and save the Vikings. And I cloak he doesn't have a detector, because most likely the missile turrets killed it, or the mine splash, or the Viking. So I keep the Banshees there to do as much damage as they can, and I kind of use the Hellions that were coming in to do some pressure. Since I know he doesn't have a detector, I sit on the high ground and try to do some damage there. And these factories are about to finish. I go ahead and grab another base in the top right corner, because, odds are he's not going to be checking there anytime soon. I'm retreating most of my army, and I'm making a lot of Banshees and a lot of Hellions. So the reason, and I'm getting Blue Flame now, as I said in my previous video against Cats, this is more of a mid-game upgrade, not an early mid-game, late game. So why I'm making no anti-air is because I already have some Vikings, so I'm not terribly worried about it. I can always just make a few. So you can see I'm making 2 at a time, and I already have some. So it's not the biggest of deals, and I get Raven energy, because, I've got quite a bit of gas, and I'm going to want to get Ravens soon. And since I already have the starports, I can transition into it. Since I'm expanding in the top right, I'm also going to expand in the bottom left. My army's a little bit more mobile, so I can do a base race quite easily. I can also pick at him. I know he's not attacking because the Widow Mines are over there. Kind of just checking for a base, seeing what's going on. So I'm going to check the bottom left corner now, see if I can pick off a base. So right now my goal is to keep him contained. You can see the upgrades are going, and now my economy is booming, so I'm going to drop 4 more starports. And I got a sensor tower over there so I can really see something coming. I got the watchtower, and I'm making it a planetary. I've already got the building armor, so it's a lot harder to kill. And now we can kind of move around the map. We're maxed out, so we can definitely attack him. We don't need to, but we can definitely attack him. So I decide, you know what, let's go ahead and give him a poke. But when I got up there, he was in a really great position, so I decided to back out. And, retreat to my base. I also decided to make some Widow Mines to help control space. They're not too terrible against Stalkers. The Stalkers will most likely be blanking against the Hellions, which means they can't blank away from the Widow Mines. And if they're running from the Widow Mines, they're not attacking the Hellions. And the Hellions are there to draw fire away from the Banshees. So we Seeker Missile him. He got kind of overextended. Take out a Void Ray. So now we don't have to worry about, shooting up. Widow Mines are getting kind of in position. We're getting a little funneled, which is not great. So we move a little forward. It doesn't look like he has a detector, because if one shows up, my Vikings will automatically kill it. Widow Mines in position, doing a lot of damage. Yes, he's killing the Vikings now, but the Widow Mines and the Banshees have free reign, so he's looting a lot. We're also making 6 Banshees at a time and 12 Hellions. And our Banshees are more upgraded than our ground, and in the patch, these 2 upgrades will be combined. So our Hellions would be almost +3 attack, which would be way cool. So this style will be buffed with the patch. Yeah. So we definitely take some hits, and we do end up taking out his observer. So I do believe he's got to push back. It's one of the things I like, is he really needs the observer. And there goes another one. So now he has no choice but to retreat. If you constantly snipe the observers, it's not a worry. It may have looked like we were kind of losing that fight, but looking at the supply, it's something, and the minerals, like the mineral and gas, it's something we could have continued for a long time. Just because of our income, we would have been able to power over him. So it's kind of irrelevant. What it was looking like, like it was a stalemate that it was going to take forever. He's over here attacking, and this is a wrong move. He does not want to attack by a planetary, because we'll be able to repair it mostly for days. So we come over here and attack him to force him away from the planetary. We kind of want to attack him near the planetary, but okay. Or the Widow Mines, move back a little bit. Move back to the planetary. We're making now, so we've decided, alright, you're going a lot of Stalkers, and We got a lot of income, we got a lot of factories. Let's get some Thors in here. So we get some Thors, 6 Thors and 3 Hellions. Kind of at this stage we can go for the really big meat of the army. And we also get durable materials, which helps for Raven. So we're gonna go into Raven soon. And from here we can go into pretty heavy Thor Raven, which is nice. Drop some more command centers. I can see him attacking over there, so it's whatever. But if you look at the the planetary fortress, he's not able to take it down. Eventually he could, but he would just be taking so much damage that it wouldn't be worth it. And he's got to kind of retreat because no detectors, but now some come flying in. But I also have a shit ton of Banshees. I have 14 Banshees at this stage, and Banshees on even upgrades trade. With Stalkers pretty well, the Banshees come out ahead. So he's got 17 Stalkers. I should most likely win the battle just against the Stalkers without the Hellions, and I have Hellions. And I'm sniping his observers, so he can't do nearly as much damage. I've got Thors moving around the map, and I'm also making some siege tanks. But as I said, I'm kind of making the meat of the army now. I've got lots of anti-air, so siege tanks are powerful. It's got a lot of stalkers, so siege tanks are powerful. He does not have a lot of immortals, because the more immortals he has, the more powerful the Banshees are, which is awesome. So, yeah. At this stage, the game is pretty much over. We're just trying to see, how many expansions do you have. Let's try to keep you contained. And we know that he doesn't have one top left, so we check, or top right, so we check bottom left. I'll kind of just send everything over there, but he does intercept us a little bit, which is not too big of a worry. So he comes in, and we plant a few more turrets and sensor tower, so yeah. He gets a few units in advance, and our army's kind of streamlining in. I see that he's got High Templar, so I cloak so he can't feed back and drain some energy, and I kind of move away. Split them up a little bit. Siege the siege tanks. Here comes the rest of the Banshees, so we're killing the Nexus. Split up a little bit more, and from here it's just domination. There's nothing you can do at this stage. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you want my replays to be sent to you every time at the end of the day, when I'm done for the day, I send out my replays. Sometimes it's the morning after, in case I'm too tired and I fall asleep and I don't want to compile them. You can go to the website below. It's thelocalfactory.com. It's like $4.99 a month for the replays. I don't think that's too much. I send them every day until you cancel your subscription. But some of the people the people who subscribe have seen me developing my style a little bit more and earlier. So you get sneak peeks in advance to what I'm doing, and so on. But thanks for watching, guys, and you have a good day.